All right, everyone, welcome back to the Golf Unfiltered podcast. I'm your host, as always, Adam from golfunfiltered.com. And joining me today is Chris Finn. He is the founder and CEO of Par4Success.com. Chris, it's nice to speak with you.
It's great to be here, Adam. Excited to chat and hopefully help a lot of golfers play some better golf.
So we're going to get into a lot of good fitness stuff. And as I was explaining to Chris prior to us getting recorded here, in a past life, I've always been involved in healthcare, and I've been very involved in physical therapy, leading up to the point where I wanted to be a physical therapist, and I couldn't get past a few things. And Chris, you and I'm sure could talk about a lot of different things specific to not only therapy and the benefits of taking care of your body and your joints, especially as people get older. But nowadays, especially with the colder months that you and I are experiencing and many people in the country, we're going to get into some maintenance that people can do for their golf game. But before we get into all of that, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit about how you got started at Par4Success?
Yeah, for sure. Well, I think it started with barely getting through PT school. I think we were talking a little bit about organic chem and how much fun that was. But let's fast forward past those dark days. But really, Par4Success came from, an early kind of desire to, I learned early on when I graduated PT school, I was not a good employee. Got written up for referring somebody from a certain ACC university hospital to a rival ACC university. That wasn't a good thing, apparently. I'm from the North. I didn't know Adam, but, basically decided I should do my own thing. And, I had caught the golf bug pretty big being down here in Raleigh, North Carolina. And, so really started driving around literally with a table in the back of my car, some bands, knocking on doors at different pro shops and saying, hey, would somebody listen to me? And, that was back probably 7-8 years ago. And fast forward to today. And we've got one of the biggest research databases on the physical element of golf and how to help golfers play golf for a really long time. We've got a team of over 30, between PTs and strength coaches. And it's just been really a cool journey, and just getting to work with people. And I get to go to work every day and learn more about how to be better at golf. So feel pretty lucky for that.
That's great. Yeah. And, there's so much that translates over from the game of golf and just the complex body movements into everyday life. In other words, if you're sitting at a desk for a long time and you've got back pain, then that's going to carry over into your golf game. And I'm sure a lot of your patients experience things like that, among others.
Yeah, we see it all the time of, whether it's somebody who's sitting at a desk or somebody who sat at a desk for 40 years and now they're retired and, they've had it in their mind, so I can go play golf 5 days a week. And then they go and try to play golf twice in a row, 2 days. And third day, they can't move. And they're like, what do I do now? So it's just, I think just the way that we live in the Western world, we sit a lot. We tend to, we're at a computer, we actually are in all these postures that are actually 100% opposite of what we need for golf in terms of being able to rotate, into our trail side, into our lee side, being able to get the club down into the slot and, all the things that you need to perform well. Anybody who's taken a lesson or watched a professional, you go, oh my God, how does their body get to that position? And they have these physical abilities that unfortunately the average, amateur, our day-to-day lives don't, they kind of preclude us from being able to get into those positions. So we see it all the time of people who come in and they're like, I've waited my whole life. All I want to do is play golf. And I finally met a point where I can do it. And my body is letting me down. How do we fix this? And I think this is, talking about being a bit colder. And this is such a great time for so many golfers across the country and the world to really kind of take stock of where is your body at. The goal of really all of our research has been to come up with really simple, easy to implement ways for people at home in 5 minutes to figure out, what can I do, even if it's just 15 minutes in a day, to help my body move better so I can actually be good at this game. The game is hard enough. We can remove so many of the unknowns physically very quickly. And so that's kind of what I'm excited to, hopefully help, pull the curtain up on a couple of those mysterious physical things that we can help golfers with today.
Absolutely. And, it's funny because a lot of people don't think about how much you need to prepare your body, even if you're a one-time-a-week player. I try to get out and maybe hit the driving range at least once a week. And certainly when the winter months come, that goes down to whenever I can stand being outdoors. And so
Exactly.
maybe, when you see the folks that come to you for help, and you and your team, and do you run into that once a week, maybe twice a week, a couple times a month golfers? And like you just described, they don't understand why am I hurt now?
Yep. Oh, all the time. I would say, the probably most common people we work with play once to twice a week, whether it's 2 days in a row on the weekends, or they can sneak one out, during the week if they're so inclined to play hooky from work or something. But I think what people don't understand is we get away with really not doing much when we're in our 20s and maybe some of our early 30s. And it's kind of funny, every time you hit 30, there's a few more aches than there were when you were 20. You hit 40, there's definitely more. We look at our data set, and we've got a data set of over 6,000 golfers, like just regular amateurs from 10 to in their 80s. And like, if you look at the graph, Adam, it's like club head speed, everything's looking okay, get up to 40. You hit 41, and dude, it's like a cliff. Like, people just fall off. I don't know, something physiologically bad happens at 41. So then you get to your 50s. Every decade, guys are like, oh my God, like I used to be able to do this, and now I can't. What the heck? And we just lose a lot of the elasticity in our tissue. We lose the ability to compensate, and it just kind of snowballs till eventually we get to this point where, like, holy cow, like, I'm hitting it 10 yards, or why do I need a 7-iron now? I used to only need a 9-iron. That's not okay. Right. Yeah. And there's this light bulb moment of like, and that's when, regardless if they're playing once a week or 5 times a week, we're able to, give people a lot of information on how to get that 7-iron back to a 9-iron.
Yeah. Well, you've just scared the daylights out of me, because I just turned 40. And so 41's coming up. Time's
counting, Adam. Countdown clock is going.
Right. Well, and it's interesting because I've even noticed in my game, and I've played since I was 13.
Yep.
I've noticed how different changes have already happened. I get more sore than I usually do. Yep. And, even golfers who have to adjust the equipment that they play. We talk a lot about equipment here on the show.
Exactly.
And, I used to play blades, and I can't do that anymore to get the same distance that I used to get. And so a lot of it, or maybe to frame it as a question to you, how much do golfers, when they come and see you, have to readjust their expectations at what they can do?
What's actually interesting is they have to readjust them. Pretty much everybody who comes in has to readjust them. But it actually is usually in the other way. A lot of guys will come in like, I just turned 40. Like, there's no, like, I'm getting older. This is what it's going to be. Like, I better get those, strengthen those irons. So that 7-iron now is really like a 6-iron, right? But in reality, when we look at the data, guys come in, like the first 10, 12 weeks we work with guys, on average, they're picking up about 10 yards, 3 miles an hour or so, which is, that's a club pretty quickly. Mm-hmm. If we look at across the spectrum the first year, if people are doing the right stuff, then, we can dive into kind of what the stuff is. And obviously we can share with the listeners kind of where they can go to figure out if they're starting, where to start. But after the first year, we'll see on average, anywhere between 5 to 8 miles an hour. So we're talking one club better generally in the first 3 months. First year, we're talking, definitely 2 clubs better. And that's the cool thing about the physical side is, it doesn't take more than, 90 minutes in a week, because if you know what you're doing, right? There's some guys who go to the gym and spend 3 hours in the gym a day doing absolute stupid stuff, just wasting time. Like literally you should be spending, 30 minutes 3 times a week if you can do that, and then go spend the rest of your time playing golf. Because very rarely do I meet, I don't know how many golfers you've met that are actually like gym rats. There's not a lot out there.
No, not my friends.
We work out because we want to. We work out because we want to play, right? And so that's where really we can focus on. 90 minutes in a week is a very attainable number for a lot of people. We can see big results that actually stick because people can just kind of keep up with that routine. And now we see guys who, I use an extreme example. We have a gentleman here. He's 78 years old. He's been training with us for 8 years. He picked up initially about probably 5 or 6 miles an hour. And then every year since then, like over the last 7 years, right, he's basically picked up a half mile an hour every single year. So, and if over, let's say 7 years, so that's 4.5 miles an hour, right? The average guy in his age group is losing 1 to 2 miles an hour every single year. Right. So if you look at the delta there, not only like just maintaining, like once we hit 41, so, as soon as you turn 41, just maintaining, you're going to gain on your counterparts. But if you can also, what we see is guys gaining a little bit, and it's not, just a little, mile an hour or so, and you start to snowball those over the course of the years. Now you get to 50, 60, and like, you're the guy who's like, oh my God, I just want to be like you when I'm 65. Like, oh, if I could just swing like him and hit it that far, right? So it's very attainable for people. And I think really the big adjustment in people's expectations is you don't have to listen to Father Time. Like, just because you're getting older and he's taking away yards doesn't mean you got to sit there and take it. To a degree, he's going to take us all off the earth at some point. But, until then, we to a very large degree, and more so than a lot of people realize, you control a lot of your own destiny in terms of the physical side of how long you can continue to play the game of golf. Because a lot of people stop playing because either your driver goes 150 yards, that's not fun. You can't play more than 2 days in a row, so the member guest is out, right? like all the fun parts of it, and you can't keep up going on those golf trips with your buddies. Like, so there's so much that the physical area, if we just can spend literally 10, 15 minutes a day doing some basic things, allow us to enjoy this game for a really, really long time.
So let's talk a little bit about those things that not only your team helps patients with, but even things that listeners can do at home during the off season, perhaps over the winter months. I mean, the holidays are times when, we're not really taking that great a care of ourselves, around Thanksgiving and Christmas and other holidays. So, right off the bat, I'm thinking that, you got to keep your strength up. You got to keep some flexibility up. Am I on the right track?
Yeah, you're definitely there. I think the easiest place that I always tell people to start is we have a assessment that we give out for free. We actually created a free page, Par4Success.com/unfiltered. So anyone listening, go there just as a thanks for being a part of the show. You guys can grab this free assessment. And basically it has all of our data that you can actually see how you compare to all your buddies. So you can go see how you compare, Adam, to all your other buds. Hopefully you're better than them, but basically where we start is there's 4 Rotary centers. So I think this is the first. So you say, hey, I got to stay mobile and I got to stay strong. Yes, totally correct. After that, everybody else gets it wrong, right? And they go, oh, I got to stretch my hamstrings. I got to, people think of all these these classic mobility things that we learned in PE class, 30, 40 years ago. And actually, none of that has really any bearing on how you're going to perform in the golf swing. There's really only 4 rotational areas that actually matter in terms of performance, in terms of keeping you healthy and out of pain, keeping your speed up. Those are your hips, your shoulders, your thoracic spine, which is basically your spine under your neck, but above your low back, and your neck, right? So if we can rotate, then this free assessment, basically, there's a video, takes people 5 minutes, 7 minutes if you have slow internet maybe. And you do the test and you see like, hey, did I pass or did I fail, right? And right away, if you're green lighted or red lighted. If you fail any of those rotational assessments, and I'm willing to bet my car, Adam, you and the hip test are not going to get along. That's most people don't. But that's right away. That's amazing news for you, because now all of a sudden, oh, I got something I can work on. And if you're not able to rotate into your trail leg and into your lead leg, all of a sudden now, that's going to very much so negatively impact your ability. You're going to have probably not going to be as rotary, probably going to have to be steep. You talk a lot about equipment. Well, your equipment's going to be directly impacted. A lot of times the equipment is used as the compensation because the body can't do it. So we're going to fit the equipment to make up for what you're lacking physically. Well, now all of a sudden, if we actually have the ability to rotate from point A to point B, we can get to the right positions. We see guys all the time. We joke that, we fix a lot of problems, but the one problem we always cause is we screw up people's clubs because now they need to go get different shafts, or because they pick up the speed. So we tell a lot of people all the time, they're like, hey, so I'm going to get fit. Like, dude, just wait like 6 weeks, please, because you're going to hate us, because you're going to spend all this money on these clubs, and then 6 weeks you're going to go need to get refit. But so the first thing, you're totally right, is the mobility, and I would really strongly suggest everybody grab the assessment. Par4Success.com/unfiltered. We'll send you links you can put in the show notes too.
Thank you.
But you basically, in 5 to 10 minutes, you guys can see, do you pass, do you fail? Then the real fun part for all of you, for all of us guys listening, and any one of us with an ego and want to see how powerful you are, there's 2 big power tests, lower body power and upper body power, that statistically speaking, actually have a causative impact on club head speed. Meaning, and stats, without getting too into the weeds. There's correlation and there's causation. So correlation basically means, hey, you swing fast, and if you swing fast, you tend to do this too. Causation means, hey, if I, like for instance, I know that if I can increase the upper body power test, for every inch we can increase how far you can throw a ball, I know what that equates to specifically in terms of mile per hour gains, right? So causation is good for everyone listening. So there's these two tests. You do these two power tests, right? And then from there, we're able to see, hey, where do you rank compared to your counterparts? So we can see what percentile, for you, Adam, as a 40-year-old, what percentile are you in the 99th percentile? You have a 55-inch vertical, like crazy good athlete, or are we at like a 5.5-inch vertical and we're on the low end? I don't know. So
I'm a little
that's
closer
where we're
to
able
that.
to then closer to that one. So that's where we're able to see now, hey, where is my, where are my power net numbers compared to my counterparts? And then we also have it for all club head speeds. So we're able to, because the database is so big, is say, hey, what's good for 40? That was one of my biggest frustrations when I came out, is I'd have a 50, 60-year-old guy and they'd be like, hey, I swing 95 miles an hour. Is that good? I'm like, I don't know, slower than Tiger, but I don't know for a 55-year-old guy, right? And so that's where I think we really can look at saying, for your age group, this is the average, this is really fast, this is really slow. And then we actually can start to look at comparing where's your club head speed versus where are your power numbers. And this is, now we start to talk about the specifics of your program. Are you somebody who your mobility stinks? And so let's fix that first. Or are you somebody who mobility is good, speed's really good, but your strength sucks? So that we have a massive gap between the two and you're more likely to get hurt. Or are you somebody who your speed's really low, but your power numbers are really high, in which case we got a lot of speed training and that sort of stuff. We can gain a lot really quickly, or you somewhere in the middle. So I think this is where all of you going into the, thinking of where do I start? It's such an awesome blueprint because it allows you not only to get an understanding of where's my mobility at, where's my power at, where's my speed at compared to where could it be, but then it also gives you a very kind of focused vision and view of, hey, these are the types of things that I can start to work on so that you can spend 90 minutes in a week as opposed to 90 minutes a day in the gym working on the stuff that's actually going to get you, from point A to point B to play better golf. And we can, it's so at this point, because we've done it so many times, it's so like repetitive of like, oh, yep, this is you. This is what we need to do. Do A, then B, then C will occur, which is really exciting for us and for a lot of the golfers we work with.
And people who go through it, as you said, because they want to see the results of all the things that you're working on. And, it's interesting because you mentioned a few things there that really struck a chord, and I know listeners will agree with me. Equipment, golf is an ecosystem in that it's a lifestyle. It really is. If you're serious about the game, it's not just I'm going to go grab some clubs, some balls, and then go out and play one time a year. It's like you got to get your everything going, and it's not just once or a couple times a year type thing, and so the equipment side, the money that people choose to spend, because let's be honest, we all have a certain budget in mind, and some more than others when we talk about playing golf. And everyone so the point that you raised about the club fitting, that's something that we also talk a lot about here on the show. And you want to go and present your best self. And I get a lot of questions where, okay, well, if I'm not swinging the club well that day and I'm getting fit, how are they going to know, what clubs to tell me to buy? Well, the same is true if you're injured. Don't go, listeners, I know you're hearing this, don't go and go get fit when you're injured. Take some time off, reschedule the thing. But my point, Chris, is all of this said, and you can work with a company like yourself and your talented team. Do you have actually places, clinics that people could go to? Do you have locations, physical locations, or is it all based online?
Yeah, so we have, first thing, just to your point here on the don't go when you're injured, we actually done a bunch of research looking at kinematic sequencing of golfers who don't have, like, even if somebody's not hurt, let's say, but you don't have good mobility. So you guys, anyone listening, you take the test, you fail any of these 4 tests, which everybody listening, 83% of you are going to fail at least one of them. So it's a broad majority. But let's say you go and you take these tests and you don't pass one of the Rotary Centers. What we look at when we put all the 3D gear and everything in our physical location here in Raleigh is basically what we will see is if you take 10 swings and you don't have the ability to rotate cleanly through all those 4, it looks literally like 10 different golfers took 10 different swings. The sequencing, the power of compensation and eye-hand coordination and timing is real, Adam. It literally is 10 different sequences to get the club back down to the impact position. Now, the cool thing is when we retest people as they've improved their mobility centers, and all of a sudden they start passing them, the variance is cut by like over 50%. Well, now if you do 10 swings, at least 5 of them, like it's like, oh yeah, that looks like the same dude swinging the golf club. But it's just to kind of drive home your point, hopefully, that like not only if you're injured should you like probably not go get fit, but also if you don't have good rotary mobility, you're compensating every single time. And I have the data to say that you're literally taking a different movement every single time. And so it's not shocking when you get a lot of people who don't pass these tests and they go, I went and got fit and I couldn't put it together. I don't know. How the heck did they fit me? I have no idea. I'm sitting all over the place. Right. So this all goes down. I always think of it as a pie. I think if there's 4 quadrants to the pie of golf performance, right? To your point, you have the equipment side. That's a big component of it. You also have what I would call like the technical, or how to play the game, course management, mental, kind of just how you think your way around the course. Also like the instructional side. And I think of the bottom half of this is really so controllable and physical, in that you have a quarter of it that's mobility, and the other quarter is your power and strength and how fast you can move the club and that sort of stuff. So really half of the equation of the variability for golf performance is physical and super easy. And like, we've got the science where it's not a guessing game, right? Like it's not, oh, does it feel better? No, I'm going to measure and I'm going to tell you if it's better. Right. But so to your other question of, how do people, do we have locations, or we're actually opening we're moving into a massive kind of state of the art performance facility that we're building here in the next month or two. We're in our smaller space now in Raleigh and here in North Carolina. We're moving to we're going to have multiple simulators and big gym and all the tech, and we're geeks. So if any of you guys are geeks, certainly come visit us there. But we also have, come on down, Adam. You let me know. It's warmer here. We can play golf. We're only 45 minutes from Pinehurst. It's better than Chicago. But then the other side of it is we have a really big virtual program where we work with people remotely around the world, and we're able to do all of the science, all the testing and everything via video, where we measure everything, and we get the same results that we see in person, virtually, which is really that was important to me when we started doing the virtual side of things, is that we weren't going to go virtual like at a big scale until I was sure that we could guarantee results. And the cool thing is we've gotten there because of the science and the repeatability of it. So if anyone wants to come, you're up north, you want to come down south, we'll set you up with some courses. You can play, spend the day or two, down here with us. But we also do a lot of stuff virtually, people all over the world. So.
Excellent. And accessibility in that way is so important, as we know over the last few years, people doing more virtual interactions, not only working from home like I do, but also they see doctors, they see physical therapists, they see anyone over Zoom and remote now. So you go to par4success.com/unfiltered to take the free assessment. Listeners will go and do that. They'll see where perhaps they could benefit the most for their body movement and of course, their game. The next step from there is to reach you how? So we actually have set it up so that all the listeners, as a bonus too, from there, you actually get to a page where you can schedule a free call to go over with someone on our team of what do your results mean? Because it's kind of mean for me to give you all the, hey, do these tests and then leave you hanging, right? So everyone always has questions like, hey, was this good? Was this bad? Was this really a fail? I thought I passed it. And so we can go over, we do a Zoom call. We can review the test results with you. We can give you all the percentiles where you're at, explain to you what it means. And then, from there, it's, if it'd be great. We'd love to work with anyone who's listening, but if you want to work with us, well, obviously we can help you out that way. But also if it's just like, hey, I don't have any money. I'm unemployed. I don't care. Like we'll show, we have a massive YouTube channel. Hey, these are the types of things that you should be looking at. Our number one goal is to help as many golfers as we can play the game as long as they can. We want to be the best at helping golfers gain longevity in the game. And if that means you're working with us, fantastic. If that means we can at least give you some direction and give you a clear path of what you need to be doing here the next couple of months, if it's cold where you are, or maybe you're down in Florida right now and during the winter months, you're one of those smart people. How do you undulate your programs and how do you make sure you keep playing for a really long time? So, everyone just if they go to the par4success.com/unfiltered,
grab the assessment, and then it will take you right to a schedule page where you can find a time that works for you. So we will kind of walk you through the results, tell you what it means, and hopefully set you on the right path for you.
Excellent. And thank you so much for setting that up for our listeners as well. I know that people are going to take advantage of that. And listeners, those of you who I've met you've sent me emails. I know that this is right up your alley. So please take advantage of this. Chris and his team are going to take care of you. I'm going to probably do it because now, again, I'm going to have nightmares because 41 is right on the horizon. And apparently everything's going to go downhill.
It's coming. Yes, we need to avoid that cliff, Adam. We're going to show you exactly where it is. And then you also get to come down and play some golf in the winter.
There you go.
Nothing wrong with that.
Nothing wrong with that at all. All right, Chris. Well, before we wrap up, thanks again so much for your time. Again, listeners, it's Par4, the number 4, success.com/unfiltered. Take the assessment. Chris, before we let you go, any other quick tips, things that people could start doing right away to prepare their bodies, even if they're just sitting at their desks, toe raises, anything at all?
Yeah, I think honestly the best thing for anyone listening is to grab that assessment because it gives you so much information in so little time. It's directed, it's specific to what we need as golfers. We're all different and have different body types and whatnot. The golf swing is the golf swing, and everybody needs to be able to rotate into their hips. They need to be able to rotate their shoulders, to get the club back to the golf ball at impact. And we need to stay healthy. We have one of the highest injury rates of any sport just from overuse in golf. But we also have one of the highest potentials for longevity and being able to play a game. Most of us, I know me personally, I played basketball through college and then I got, my late 20s. I'm like, what's a sport where I'm not going to blow my Achilles out? Oh, golf, right? It's a sport for life. And I think it's just such a great tool for people to use. Not only just right now, go see where you stand, but also check in a month. How do you, have you gotten better? Have you gotten worse? It's just such a great free tool for so many golfers out there. That's my number one piece of advice for people is, just grab that and see where you stand, and then you can make a plan from there.
There you go. From the founder of Par4Success himself. Go out to the assessment, par4success.com/unfiltered. Chris, thanks so much for coming on and telling us a little bit about what you do.
I appreciate it, Adam. Had a blast.